Certified by Weather Rate. Sponsored by AC Designs.
The calm before the storm, that's really what today was, and it's certainly a pretty beautiful, nice evening out there tonight as well. Calm temperature-wise, we're starting to cool off into the low 70s. No rain, really barely any clouds out there tonight, but temperatures tonight will continue to dip down into the low 70s. And then the clouds begin to roll in pretty much by lunchtime tomorrow afternoon. So partly cloudy skies to start you off for your Wednesday morning. By the afternoon, fairly overcast. Temperature's going to top off in the mid, potentially upper 80s across some of our more southern areas. But then here comes the storm. Outer bands will move into southern and central Florida throughout late tomorrow evening and then especially into Thursday morning. Likely not becoming a Category 1 storm until it moves north of Cuba and the Yucatan, moves into that southern Gulf of Mexico. Then the rapid intensification will begin from a Category 1 to 2 and then eventually into a Category 3 by the time it does make landfall in Florida's Big Bend there on the Gulf Coast late Thursday evening, likely between about 7 and 10 p.m. Now, one thing I do want to point out, we have what one model is trying to depict here, taking it a little bit further east. So the cone of uncertainty really just shows where that eye could be, that center of circulation. So this is a good just reminder that the storm could be anywhere centered within that entire cone, and that is what one of these models is depicting. So just something to keep in mind. Don't necessarily focus on exactly where this is going to take the center of the eye, but really just keep focused to where the timing is on when the storm is going to move on shore. So throughout Wednesday evening, clouds increase, few scattered showers, but really the heavy rain and those stronger bands of storms and downpours begin to move in throughout Thursday morning, and that will continue throughout pretty much all day there on Thursday. Now, some of these could be embedded with some circulation, so an isolated tornado risk will begin by about 6 a.m. come Thursday morning and will continue through Thursday afternoon and evening. Now, by 8 p.m., that's when the core of the storm begins to move very close to Appalachia Bay, where we do expect that landfall there, again, between about 7 and 10 p.m. Strongest winds now being felt for Lake City, folks out in Columbia County, really up and down that I-75 corridor. So really the worst of the storm is going to be between about 6 p.m. and then up until about 2 a.m. because after midnight, this thing rapidly moves off to the north. So by 7 a.m. come Friday morning, if you slept in, you might not even notice a storm really came through if the wind and the rain didn't wake you up. And rain-wise, we're really not expecting all that much. 2 to 4 inches for I-95. The further west you go, the higher those rain totals are going to be. You're looking closer to about 3 to 6 inches with locally higher amounts in a few pockets where some stronger thunderstorms and heavier downpours do roll on through. So in contrast to Debbie, which was a slow mover and we saw a ton of rain, this is going to be a very fast-moving storm, and wind is really going to be the primary concern. Storm surge also going to be a big threat for folks out on the Gulf Coast. 10 to 12 foot, even 15 feet storm surge from Crystal River over into Appalachia Bay. Tampa could still even see up to 6 to 9 foot storm surge. The First Coast, about 2 to 4 feet potentially up in Glenn and Camden counties, but we'll get to that here in a second. So wind-wise, anywhere from about 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts through Thursday afternoon. By the evening then, those really ramp up. 40 to 60 mile per hour gusts late Thursday evening for the I-95 corridor, closer to about 75 to 80 mile per hour gusts for those closer to the I-75 corridor in the peak of the storm. So breaking it down county by county here, gusts to 60 for Duval, worst of the storm between about 5 p.m. and 2 a.m. there Friday morning. Worst of it for folks further west, Columbia, Bradford, Union, and Baker County, 6 to 12 a.m. Flying debris will certainly be a concern with those gusts upwards of about 75 miles per hour, if not more. Similar story for folks up near Waycross in southeast Georgia. And then as you head further south, slightly lesser concern. St. Johns and Flagler counties, isolated tornado risk, yes, but gusts only going to be about 50 to 60 miles per hour. And that's a very similar story for Clay and Putnam County as well. Glenn, Camden, and Nassau, 2 to 4 foot storm surge there, pretty much from Brunswick down to Fernandina Beach. So we'll keep a close eye on that. One more thing to keep in mind, if you do get those Category 1 hurricane force winds, could certainly still see some minor tree damage, roof damage as well. So we'll have much more on this over the next couple of days.